Thank you. Thank you. I agree. Well, I said, you feed them, they'll come, and you are here, so thank you so much. I do welcome all of you, and it is a serious enough topic and happening right here in Columbus, Ohio, that you're either here for interest or curiosity, and whichever, it's fine, because it is a message that needs to get out. I am. So let me begin with, there's a lot of misconceptions about, I work on the street, and I do several other jobs too. I pick up the women from Jackson Pike Jail who have court-mandated rehabilitation. And a lot of times their rehab is 2 years, and being court-mandated, it's with, maybe you've heard about Judge Paul Herbert and Catch Court, and it's changing actions to change habits. And it lasts 2 years, and it's quite regimented, and if they leave that, then it is a felony if they go back to the streets or wherever they are. I meet a lot of my women when I pick them up at jail that I've had on the streets, and so it helps them to feel relieved, and I'm so happy to be able to see them again and to know that they're safe and that they're going to a rehab. It's getting them off the streets. I never worry. Many people say, oh, they're going to get arrested. I say it's not a bad thing. They're going to be safe. They're going to have a meal. They're going to be away from the people who beat them, and they're going to get detoxed, and hopefully it's going to last a long time. The misconceptions are, a lot of people think, well, they want to be out there. Oh, they make the big bucks. Oh, no. The women, my area is Sullivan Avenue, and it is a subculture. It's subhuman over there. I go from Souder Avenue to Benz up on the hilltop. So I go down from the bottoms clear up to the hilltop. And what I see there, no human being should ever be made to live like that. And some of the sisters have heard some of my stories, and in fact, Ashley, she's an intern so she just graduated from here last year, and she's an intern in our communications department right now at the Mother House. And she had an opportunity to come to an event that we had in July down there at one of the places. I know the people who are building a drop-in center. It's actually finished. It just opened 2 weeks ago. And one of the women came in with a very badly swollen foot, but that wasn't the main problem. She was contorting all over the place, and it was because one of the drugs made her do that. And Ashley made the remark to me, she said, I hope you don't mind my saying this. Okay. She said, I have never seen anything like this before. So she can attest that things are pretty bad down on Sullivan Avenue on the west side. This is something we see all the time. Many of the women are homeless. They, live on porches. Now that it's getting cold now, they'll go inside of abandoned buildings and live. So I put blankets, I get them from St. Vincent de Paul, or people give me their things in good shape. I only take things that are in good shape, because I want these women to get the idea to know that I respect them. That's why I'm out there. I'm out there to build trust and hope. And I want them to know they are worthy. So many times we look at them, people say the least of our brothers and sisters. No, they are the most. God smiles on them through us, who are out there, to let them know that they are good people. There are things in their past, like I said, the misconceptions. Well, what's in their past is what has driven them out there. That's why coming here to ODU and even younger, people begin to gain a respect for themselves. This is what most of these people have not gotten while they were growing up. The thing that they saw the most was, they were abused. Many of you have heard that, there was a lot of incest in their homes. But even if that wasn't present, what we see are the drugs and the alcohol. I mean, I had to take one woman down to Portsmouth for rehab. So I was in the car with her for 2.5 hours. And she said to me, I watched my dad do drugs. And she said, he gave me drugs when I was 8 years old. So she said, I've been doing drugs ever since I was 8. So when these girls are out on the street at 13 being prostituted, that's the only way they can get their drugs. The pimps, a lot of them, when they run away because of their bad background, foster cares. I have a sheet that I'll pass out to you at the end, because Diane doesn't want you reading it while I'm talking. That, I have factors here, risk factors, of why people come out into the streets. And I'm sure you have these people before you now. They have left the streets. They want to better themselves. One of my survivors that I work with at Freedom a la carte just graduated with a associate's degree from Columbus State. And now she's attending Capitol, and she's getting her degree in social work. So you don't know who is before you, and what their backgrounds have been. But it has to start even earlier with families, little children in school, little children who are not in school. A friend of mine that does street outreach, she saw 4 homeless children last week alone. And they were on bikes with no shoes, and they were the cold days, not even socks, no jackets, no nothing. And she talked to them. And one of the things we're looking at is trying to get a house that has where we can board the children. And we will go by the government regulations, but we will make sure that those children are getting the love and the care that they need, and to get to school, have those boundaries very clear that they need to have, so they don't go out to the street for the love that they're looking for. Because you ask many of them, they were lonely. I had a woman, she left the streets. She had been out for 16 years. We got on Facebook together because she used to eat the lunch that I provided in the car. She'd say, "Sister, can I get in and we can talk while I eat?" And of course, the car is open. The women are allowed to get in anytime and talk. And we really got to be good friends, and we still are. She messages me all the time now on Messenger. And she's living up in Delaware. She had 2 daughters, 18 and 13, and hadn't seen them for ages. And I think it was April, she decided to go up, and her family embraced her, took her back. She wrote me about a month or so ago and said, "Sister, I've been clean 180 days now." And she's going to counseling. She's getting the support and the care that she needs. But one of the things that I said to her one day, I said, "Brenda, what drove you out here?" And she said, "I don't know." Well, that amazed me, So I said to her, I said, "Did someone break your heart?" I was thinking of, parents, that type of thing. She said, "My husband, he cheated on me." And she said, "I didn't know how to handle it, so I ran out to the streets." She said, "I'm very lonely." Well, we talked, I tried to, talk to her about, oh, she's so bright, and she's beautiful. And I said, you know, Brenda, you have so much going for you. We spent a lot of time talking. Well, when she got in touch with me in April, she said to me in the messenger, she said, Sister, it's because of you I left the streets. You let me know that I'm beautiful. You know, just not in physically beautiful, but internally beautiful. I mean, I wish you could have seen the dump. Nobody should live that way, that I would take her to go into. A lot of the women out there, they have to have $20 to be able to get into a trap house a day. So let's say, oh, they don't make $20 in a day, not on Sullivan Avenue. You know, they're lucky if they make a couple dollars, you know. And I don't want to sound gross, but, you know, they have to do a lot of things they don't want to do. And, you know, if you say, one woman told me it took her 4 days to get $20. And her feet were bleeding. This was Easter Sunday when I was out. Her feet were bleeding, they were blisters. So I went down to one of the dollar stores and bought bandages, and we got her fixed up. I got her fixed up. And then I got her food, and I took her back to the house she was going to. And she went in, it was probably about 6 o'clock. Well, it starts all over again the next day, the $20. So, you know, there's no hotels or anything in that area, so what happens in the car, and usually in abandoned garages, you know, that type of thing. I see a lot older men out there, I'd say 60s, 70s, they all have big trucks, and that big truck symbolizes power. And I have gone the opposite direction in alleys when I've seen them pick up the ladies, when I've seen them pick up these young girls. And I go the opposite direction, and I have looked these men right in the eye. It's like, do you know what you're doing? This could be your daughter. This could be your granddaughter. This could be your niece, you know. It's just like it's so accepted down there. I see women who have goose egg, baseball size abscesses from the drugs. I picked up one woman from jail, from jail, and I was taking her to rehab. She had a colostomy. Her abscess landed in her intestines and exploded. And when she was in jail, they did not treat her well at all. In fact, the Jackson Pike Jail is known to be the third worst in the United States. And what the women tell me when they come out, I believe it. In fact, I've even written Senator Portman, and I know Senator Portman, I've done some things for him. And I've told him we have to sit down and talk about this situation, how they treat the people in the jail. Because it's so, I mean, they're coming from inhumane situations, and they continue to be treated the same way in jail. And then, you know, they're so broken, and that's what the pimps do to them. I mean, I had a woman that showed me, she lifted her shirt and she said, a lot of them know I'm a sister. And she said, Sister, look what he did it to me last night. She said, I didn't have the $20. So she said, I was so tired I had to go in. And she said, he shot me at close range with a BB gun. So, and she had it, you know, her skin was all broken, and you could see she needed medical attention. Some of the women I do take to Mount Carmel West, and I had one girl that the pimp set her arms on fire, and I asked her if I could take pictures. I mean, the stench was so bad. It took over several hours to get the stench out of the car, and that was after me scrubbing the seats and spraying with Lysol. And because I do that all the time because a lot of my girls are HIV, and it's getting much worse down in the bottoms especially, because they share needles, you know, and I mean, they live worse than dogs. I mean, I've taken pictures of the front porches where they are, And I take them food. And this is what I run totally on donations. I don't ask the congregation for anything because the congregation does a lot of outreaches and helps a lot of other entities that people have been kind enough to help me, you know. So I like doing it on my own. Yes, sir.
I was wondering what was the impulse that caused you to do this? How is it tied to Dominican charism that you decided to go do this?
Well, one of our commitments talks about we're to be for the marginalized and the poor. And back in 2009, I really started to hear more about it and got involved. And I got my training at the Salvation Army. They have a human trafficking course, 101, and then they have several other courses. So you take over time, about 3 or 4 courses you have to take before you even go out in the street. Andrew, I can't remember his last name, I think he was going to try to be here, but I don't think he is. I don't think he had class, I know. Diane told me. He wanted to go out, and I told him he couldn't until he gets a course in human trafficking. She has a name, teaches a course, and then Freedom a la carte also does training for people who want to be involved. Because it is shocking when you go out. If you haven't had any preparation, you're seeing people who are higher than kites, and they're flailing, and they're just all over the place. And some of them are, you know, I have to get the Narcan. I do have Narcan. I do keep it with me. I haven't had to use it, but I did see one girl flat out one day. And when I was going up to call 911, the squad was coming. So someone had already called it in. But you never know what you're going to see. So we all had to have courses. And then when I was working down at Freedom a la carte, I got to know a lot of the survivors, because Freedom a la carte, if you don't know, is a catering business that is run totally by survivors. And it's to give them job skills, self-esteem, and then, you know, if they want to stay, they can, but if they want to move on to another job, they can do that too, and many have. And so one of the survivors, she started to go out on the streets, like on holidays, and I would help her, and that's all we could afford at the time was like Thanksgiving and Christmas. And I said to her last year, I said, you know, April, I just can't stand just going out the couple times a year when you see the poverty and you see the need. I mean, these women don't eat for 3 and 4 days, sometimes longer, and some of them are up for 2 weeks at a time because their pimp wants the business. He gives them a drug that keeps them going, and then after 2 weeks they usually crash. And so that's how I got involved, and she couldn't, you know, do it anymore because she's in school and everything, so I go alone. And I go out several times a week. And this is one of the things, like what I take them enough food for a day to a day and a half. And when I run out of this, I have McDonald's cards in the car. But now I'm kind of cutting down on that because now they buy their drugs with them. The street value is half. Like it's a $5 McDonald's card, they only get $2.50 for it. And so it's like, I'll take you to McDonald's, no more cards. Because one of the girls asked me for 4 of them a couple weeks ago, and it was so she could get Suboxone. Well, let me tell you, Suboxone and Vivitrol are not everything they're talked up to be. That's what they give recovering drug users. It's another drug. It's just a substitute. The Vivitrol they get once a month in an injection, but by the 3rd week they're already having hallucinations and urges and nightmares. They need the drug. Well, the good old-fashioned way, be with them for 72 hours, hold the bucket when they vomit, give them Advil, that's it, and give them lots of love, and after they're through it, give them lots of support. Because what we're doing in society is we're just carrying it on so that now the trap houses, like I said, are carrying the Suboxone. So that's why she wanted 4 cards, because she had to pay $10 for the Suboxone. And I said, 4 cards? I said, you know, that's $20 out of my pocket. I said, I have to work hard on this, you know, to get this. I said, no, you know, and they'll say about themselves, don't believe us. We lie, we manipulate, because we need our drug, you know, and it's not their fault. The pimps have got them on this. I mean, if they have to do 20, 24 plus men a night, a morning, a night, a morning. You know, most of these girls don't even get anything till 6 a.m. in the morning. You know, if they're out begging, like when I go to Freedom a la carte to work, I have snack packages in the car and water that I give them, you know. And one girl I stopped for one morning, she had 2 black eyes, her nose was swollen and bleeding, and I motioned for her to come over, and I said, honey, why don't I take you to the hospital? And I was going down Souder, and she said, no. She said, I have to get out of this area. I'm never coming back. I've had it. I'm getting out. And I gave her, you know, the box of food that I had in the car, and she took off. But every one of them say thank you every time. Even the most hardcore woman I have ever seen, you know, I always say, honey, would you like a lunch? And when they hear somebody's giving them something, you know, they can't believe it, because they've had urine thrown on them, they've been spit at, they've had rocks thrown at them. I mean, they've had garbage thrown at them. I mean, this is what, you know, they tell me that's happened to them. So no wonder they feel like, you know, they're the dirt of the earth, but they're not. So every kind word or every kind action means something to them. And one of the things I do is I always make sure I have a package of candy for them, because when a lot of them have a bad day, because they call it dope sick, that's when they don't have enough drugs and they're going into withdrawal and they're really in bad shape. And it's nothing ginger ale will take care of. They have to have a drug, you know, and or just someone to go through it with them, to be with them for those 72 hours and then get them into rehab, or get them into rehab right away. Unfortunately, we don't have enough rehab places here in Columbus, but I know Mount Carmel is building an 80-bed facility out near 70 East, right near Hamilton Road, and that'll hopefully be finished in the next year, year and a half. And there are a couple other places that are beginning to build facilities, because that's what we need the most. We have to get them off the drugs first, then work on their insides. Yes?
What's the best way to get donations to you?
Through Sister Diane, or just to me personally, but Sister Diane would take care of that too.
A list of design items? Or?
Yes, I do. And I can get that to Sister, yeah, because this is what I do. I give out 40 of these a month. And what it is, I have enough supplies, feminine items, for a month's period. And so they get tampons, they get light pads, and heavier pads. You know, why shouldn't they be treated like normal women? And then I always give them intimate wipes, and then the card from out of the closet where they can go be tested for HIV and AIDS, because their testing is free and their treatment is free. I give them a pair of socks. You should see them. They go gaga over the socks. Oh, socks, I love these socks. You know, I'll tell you, one of the hardest things for homeless women is to have a period on the street. You can get in to YouTube. There is a video that's made about what they go through on the streets. They use socks. They rinse them out. They use them again. They use newspaper. They tear up newspaper, whatever they can find. It's a horrible life. for the women. And then, of course, more diseases. So that's why when I get an increase in donations, I started out with 2 Tampax last year. I'm up to 8 now. That's what it means to these women, and being able to give them more pads. And wipes, I can give them wipes now too. You know, I give them Kleenex, toothpaste, toothbrushes, razors, and I always bag them because I don't want them cutting themselves. And this is what some of them will say is, one said to me, there is so much care in this bag. And another woman came to me one day and she says, oh, I love your bags. I love your bags. And then they'll say, I love your lunches, you know. So well, that's good. But shampoo, soap, I have actually seen one of the girls with this antibacterial gel washing under her arms and all over on a porch, trying to be clean. And down there, they actually go to the houses, the backs of the people's houses that have hoses, and they wash themselves with their clothes on, wash their hair, everything from the people's hoses in their backyards. I mean, if you haven't been down Sullivan Avenue, I suggest you go take a look. You will be amazed. Give them deodorant, coarse bar soap, and sometimes larger ones, lip balm. You need it all year round. You know, you think what we go through, they're out in the elements all the time, you know, and now they've gotten, and hand lotion. Now they're familiar and they'll say, oh, sister, I'm out of deodorant, or sister, I need one of your bags. You know, so I'll tell them, well, I'll be out in another couple of days, or I'll be out tomorrow, and I'll be sure to have some with me. But you know, the problem is, what's so hard, you don't see the same people twice, sometimes for 4 or 5 weeks. They just go wherever they can find a place to go. And there's so many new girls out there. Oh my gosh, there's hundreds. One of the women I picked up, she said, I don't have sex anymore. She said, the church is down on the street. Let me scrub their bathrooms. So they give me money. So I have the $20 to get in. And I said to her, you know, I'm all the time telling them, I'll rescue you. You know, I'll take you wherever you want to go. I'll call Salvation Army. I'll wait with you. This is one of the things I do in their candy bag that they get. Is I have a card that the congregation made up for me. I had put what I wanted on it, and it's just simply praying for you, the Dominican Sisters and Associates of Peace. And then I have the National Human Trafficking number on it in bold. So these girls don't have phones. They're so poor. You know, my God, they don't have clothes that they need for this time of year even. That's why they come to the back of the trunk and go through and see what I have. They share coats. One girl was going through the dumpster one day, and I told her, I said, honey, I have some food here. And I said, I have some coats in the trunk. You want to look at them? And she says, oh, I'm so happy. She said, this is one of the other girls' coats. Now she can come out. You know, and that's not the first time I've heard it. They told me they share coats because they don't have one for themselves. But anyway, on the back I have Mary Haven's number. I have the engagement of Mary Haven, their place too, but you have to be drunk before they'll take you, which, you know, doesn't help a whole lot. You know, if you're in crisis and you've been through detox, but you need a home, you got to be drunk before they'll take you. So go get a beer, you know. So then there's Net Care, Amethyst, and then the homeless shelters. Now I had a situation the other day down at Join, and they called me. One of our sisters, in fact, Sister Joel's sister, Sister Bernadette, she's one of ours. She called me. I had them call me to say this one woman was detoxed, but she was homeless, but she had been trafficked. So I tell you, it is not an easy chore to get someone housing in Franklin County, and I'm sure it's that way all over. You practically have to give them your firstborn. You know, it is really, really tough on these women. And that woman had just spent Sunday night and Sunday morning, you know how torrential the rain was, out on the steps of one of the shelters because she couldn't get in. Now that's just so wrong. You know, I have to watch my street language. But, you know, it really is. You get out there and you just can't do anything but love them. You know, so that's why I try to arm them with all the resources that I can. I give them a brochure from Salvation Army. I did have it here. And I put everything in their bag. This tells their services. But then they also have the others from the card that they can call to and get instructions. But, and I put everything in a bag for them. These were mistakes, so they're perfect. They have Dominican sisters, a piece. They're the dark gray, you know, you don't see the dirt. But I have the fluorescent green, and I wish you could see going up and down the street the women with their fluorescent green bags. You know, Dominican Sisters and Associates of Peace. They know we care, and the card says praying for you. You know, and I never shove religion down their throat, nothing. I don't, you know.
You're an angel of mercy.
Yeah.
You're an absolute angel of mercy.
Thank you. Okay, all righty. Yeah. Okay, I have a prayer here that Sister Joel wrote about 5 or 6 years ago, and then one of our associates did the picture on the front. And so the prayer is beautiful. I've given out to many, many people, and they pray it every single day. And I, you know, carry it in your car, you know. And then I have my card up here, and I have the Praying for You card. If you want to keep it in your car, that if you ever see somebody, you know, keep something in your car. Like what I do is I get those dollar chicken things, you know, that you see in the, and another thing, boycott Wendy's. Because Wendy's, I haven't eaten at a Wendy's for the last 5 years because they make slaves out of people, and there are a lot of boycotts going on against Wendy's. And it's because they wouldn't pay their pickers the penny per pound of tomatoes that they picked, and the 1 penny per pound went to that picker for their family, and they would not pay it. And they're the giant of the food chain. So I've taken up several petitions, I've written them, they don't care. But New York City and other places have also had big parades and boycotts and demonstrations about this. And you can get online and read more about it. But right now, so after all this pressure, they took their business to Mexico. So guess what? They're using the people for free down there. They're slaves. They're not even getting paid. So those types of things are very important to know. But McDonald's, they're good. They pay the penny per pound. Subway pays the penny per pound. I just went blank. Burger King, Chipotle, and Taco Bell. So keep supporting them, please. But
We could listen to
thank
you
you.
all afternoon.